Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans. I should say good evening. Welcome back to Barstool Baseball. This is Carl. I am joined by Chris Castellani and Oriole expert RDT. We're here to recap the Orioles and the All-Star Game, the All-Star Game festivities, Home Run Derby. We just got done with it. I guess rapid reactions. Castellani, put it on the pizza scale. How would you score this All-Star Game?
I would say a solid 7.8. I think that I love the fact that almost every year this is a tightly contested game, but I think outside of maybe Diaz's home run, I don't think there were a ton of, when we do the montage of great all-star moments, I can't recall any really from this game that are going to stand out, but it was a close game. It was a well-played game. It was a clean game, well-managed game. And then that does matter. There's a lot of pitching changes you got to make, a lot of lineup changes you got to make. So just a rock-solid baseball game, but not one that's ever going to belong in the Mount Rushmore of great all-star games in Major League history.
And well said, because it's like, does that even exist now without any implication? Like, is there just a spot in our head where we could just enjoy the fact that a 3-2 cleanly played game with the best players in baseball went out without repercussions or whatever? So we're in that like new wave of all-star games where there is no consequence. RDT, did you like Seattle as a venue?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a nice, and again, we'll talk about it later, but it's a nice feeling for Orioles fans because of the Cal stuff back in 2001. Again, it's always a cool, venue for them to go to. Again, it's a great looking ballpark. I love the shots at the beginning of the roof being open. Talking to my dad, and he's like, this thing looks incredible. And I'm like, yeah, it looks awesome to see a baseball game there. But again, it's a cool baseball town in general too. And plus, Griffey, Buhner, Martinez, all those guys coming out at the beginning. Like, I got goosebumps when they brought out Griffey with the ovation and the first pitch and all that. That was cool. And yeah, I thought the game was good. It started off super hot with the catches in the first inning. I'm like, this is fucking balls to the wall. Give me this. I want web gems out the ass. And we got it the first 2 outs of the game. So first I was ready to be like, Cole stinks. Get this dude out of here. Then it's like, these catches, like, yeah, keep giving me these. So yeah, it started off hot, and like you said, it kind of water found its level. And yeah, it was a good game. It was again, it's a hard fought game. I'm not expecting 11-10, no barn burners, but no, a 3-2 game and an all-star game with, again, great pitching, some good timely hitting, stuff like that. Sign me up. I'll give it a 7. I think a 7 right off the bat, just because, again, it started off hot and kind of came back down. We had the home run in the 8th, and then it was Kimbrel kind of being that like old Kimbrel that we were used to seeing. It was filthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good game.
The All-Star Game loses significance on a national scale if you don't take the historical context into consideration. So if you just look at this and just say, okay, it's a midsummer exhibition game. It's no different than the NHL. It's no different than the NBA because there's no consequences to it mid-season. The NFL is a little bit different because they do it at the end of the year and it's more of a celebratory thing. But as far as like mid-season competitions go, obviously there's nothing at stake here. But what you can't do to a baseball player is say, don't try in this moment.
Exactly.
Like, every single pitcher is throwing the best pitch they can, even though it doesn't matter. And every hitter wants to do the best they can, even though it doesn't matter. And the managers take pride. The fans of Seattle, you spent a fuck ton of money to even be in the ballpark to begin with. So to me, it just stands out clear. That's my number one takeaway from the weekend. I had a great experience consuming this content because in my head, I'm thinking to myself, man, the NHL, NBA, NFL combine all of their all-star exhibitions and competitions and highlights, and like, you'll never fucking come close to what baseball can do for their superstars in this small moment in the middle of the season when nobody gives a fuck, which might maybe add to that pain we carry as diehard baseball fans of like, man, I wish we could market our superstars better. Comparatively speaking, nobody does the all-star exhibitions better. So I guess what would you say? We'll start with RDT. Before we get into some other quick moments, like just off the top of your head, 20 seconds, like what was your number one favorite moment from the weekend?
Again, we'll talk about it soon, but it's got to be Adley in the Derby. It's kind of the Derby in general. I know. Well, I'll talk about it later.
But no, we're getting to the Derby right now. This was our transition to the Derby. This was it.
Well, then, yeah, I'll stick with Adley and the Derby just as a whole. Again, we grow up in our backyards and front yards and streets, and all you want to do is hit a fucking home run. It's the only thing you want to do from the time you're in first grade to the time you're 34 years old playing a slow pitch softball league on Sunday nights at Cedar Lane Park. Like, that's all you want to do. You know, you dream about throwing a touchdown and hitting a 3, but the home run is just so sexy. There's something about it. And again, Christmas time, you pick up that the wrapping paper. What do? You immediately put it on your shoulder, and you do these, and you take some dry hacks, and that's all you want to do, and you envision it. So the home run derby, there's something so simple about it. It's like the 3-point contest in shooting. There's something so simple of just about a home run that is awesome. And again, you can be 5 and love it. You can be 95 and love it. It's just, I love everything about the home run derby, and I think it's just a great product all around.
I'm with you, and I think the format change has been perfect. And this was the first year in which I've saw some people complain about the format change. I think there might be some complaints about the way the format change is broadcast. I think it moves at a very fast pace, and I saw a lot of people complaining about, I can't see balls land before the next pitch is thrown. I understand it, but the format change is awesome. It's a race to the finish. It's a conditioning test at this point. I think it's really cool. To me, my favorite moment of the All-Star festivities, it's Elias Diaz and the him winning MVP, hitting the 2-run go-ahead home run, because that I am a fan of every team being represented. I think that's cool.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Okay, I'm glad.
Finally.
I love it. I think it makes the game more appealing. And the fact is, with the Colorado Rockies suck. They do. And they have a great fan base and a great park. No one pays attention to the fucking Rockies. People make fun of the Rockies because they have no actual plan. And you have a guy, 32 years old, grinded his fucking ass off. You know, this motherfucker's probably what was at one point, in fucking high A ball, fucking, shitting in a bucket somewhere, worked his fucking ass off to get there. The fact that he's there is cool. Go ahead, 2-run shot in the All-Star game. And yeah, like, what was it Ohtani? Was it Vladdy Jr.? No, but it's a guy who grinded to get there. Huge moment for him. That will define his career. And not only his career, it will define the Colorado Rockies season. They will look back at 2023 and say, yeah, we didn't have a good team. We got not a good, right.
Some will. The Chris Castellanis and the Colorado Rocky fan base will look back.
Right.
And I think, but the fact that you're this jacked up about that moment is a testament to the fact that every team should be represented in this All-Star game so that they have these moments. Because, listen, Elias Diaz, is he as good as other guys on that roster, relatively speaking?
No,
but in a moment, can he be as good as anybody in baseball? And the answer is yes. And it's a beautiful fucking thing that he gets to hold on to this moment. The 2-run homer, and sorry, RDT, it's off your guy. It's off Bautista. It's one of the hardest guys to hit in Major League Baseball. It's one of the greatest strikeout ratios from a reliever that we've seen since, like, fucking Gagne. I mean, just an electric closer. I know it hurts you personally. I'd be interested, though, are you willing to sacrifice your Oriole fandom for this great moment that Castellani and I are sharing right now? Because we're so pumped for Elias.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I tweeted about it all night, joking around, being like, well, that just cost the Orioles the home field advantage in the World Series. The game, I mean, like we said, it doesn't mean anything. And people thought I was serious too, which still gets me going. I love that joke every year. But again, it doesn't mean anything. Again, it's awesome because, again, like we're kind of two different ends of the spectrum. As Orioles fans, and this is weird to say, I'm like, sure, it's an exhibition game. Doesn't matter to me. But like you said, the Rockies, fans are going to remember this. He's going to be a dozen answer next season. And we're going to be like, or 2 seasons, 3 seasons from now, we're going to be like, holy shit, I forgot it. Yeah, he took Bautista deep on, 101. So, yeah, I mean, that's, again, as an Oriole fan, I have Miguel Tejada winning the home run derby in 2005. And the Orioles were dog shit. So, again, it's stuff like that you hold on to. So, yeah, I got no problem. Did I want him to give up the home run? No. But it was, I'm not throwing a remote or being all pissy. It's like, you know what? That's an awesome moment. Again, you heard the story about him and his mom. And like you said, the guy there were probably hundreds of nights where he was laying in bed going, you know what? Tomorrow's the day I'm going to quit. I'm not made for this, this age, and I'm doing this. I'm in AAA or AA, whatever. And it's like you said, just grinded his ass off for years and years and years, gets rewarded with, again, one of the ultimate individual awards you can win. Being selected in All-Star is awesome. And again, like you said, He's not a household name. The Rockies are not a team that are going anywhere, but he'll remember this for the rest of his life. His family will. The Rockies fans will. They'll probably put up a plaque, maybe hang a banner, something like that. But no, it was an awesome moment. Again, I'll take all my biases aside. It was an awesome moment to see. Again, a guy, like you said, not the big name guy. It's not, it's not any of the big name guys who are like going out there and hitting the home run to win the game in the 8th. So, like you said, he probably grew up dreaming of that. So that was a really, really cool moment.
And I'm going to go glass half full here for you, RDT. I'd rather you give up that 2-run shot in the All-Star game than in a big fucking game in September. Get it out of the way. I remember back when the game mattered more in 2012 when Verlander started, gave up 5 runs in the first just because he was trying to throw as hard as possible. Get the shit out of the way so you can come back in the second half and dominate.
Exactly.
I'm curious if you guys have like a thing you would change. Something you don't like about the game. I'll start. I just don't like the start time in Seattle and they ran into it last year in Los Angeles, but if you're in an East Coast time zone, it's a fucking day game. It's not. When I say you're on an East Coast time zone, I mean, dude, it's pitch black. You guys are watching a game that's during the day. Just aesthetically would be, like running. I know we're recording this at 11 o'clock Central Time now, Central Standard Time right now, but there was something weird about the start of the game when they were coming out the red carpet. Like, I don't know, the NBA would never make their players come out when the sun was up. Like they would just, there's some better way to like showcase that. And then with that, while we talk about the red carpet, if you guys watch this in the introduction, they like forgot the Rays were in.
Yeah.
I think they were doing it alphabetical. So like, here come the Seattle Mariners. So then they followed out Kirby, Julio, and Luis Castillo. And they're like, and then the Tampa Rays, and the camera is just following the Mariners down the. So that's a lighthearted change I'd make. The broader one though is like, I think it should be better prime time. I don't know if I want to just put a moratorium on like West Coast All-Star games for the future. I think most All-Star games should just be played Central Standard Time Zone because that's God's time zone. Like, it's the best time zone, and that's just the fucking way it works. And I'm not saying that as a Cubs fan. I'm saying that he's a guy who respects the Georgian calendar, like the Central Time Zone's where it's at.
Yeah, I forgive me, it might have been RDT who wrote a blog about this. My number one change: have the guys wear their actual uniforms. I don't like the All-Star. Okay, I'm going to roll tonight, aren't I? All right. Because the fact is...
You're killing it, right? How people are playing these points.
Thank you. I'll give you the prime example why. Because I was watching this game tonight with my dad. My dad's a big baseball fan, but he's not like I am where he's watching 8 to 10 hours a night, multiple teams, multiple games. And so the All-Star game is a really cool opportunity for the average fan to get to know players that they might not know, in under different circumstances. I live on the East Coast, so a lot of people that I know probably don't stay up to watch Juan Soto. They probably don't stay up to watch Mookie Betts or some of these guys for the Dodgers. And so you go into these games, and when they're wearing their real uniforms, immediately it resonates with you. Hey, that's a guy, I know that guy plays for the Dodgers. Oh, first baseman for the Dodgers. So then if the Tigers one day play them, you go, oh, I remember seeing that guy in the All-Star game. To me, that really helps kind of grow the game and make you more familiar with the players. These generic, I would say pretty ugly All-Star uniforms that they've had for several years in a row now just don't do it for me. And I mean, a lot of people were saying that it was kind of Seattle colors. They weren't very good in Colorado either a few years ago. They weren't very good in San Diego in 2016. Like, I think returning back to that, having these guys wear their regular uniforms in these games, I think it adds more of a charm to the game. And I think it just makes it a lot more light and fun and accessible for the average fan.
That was our opening comment about the opening pitchers. Like, could you imagine Ronald Acuna in the gray Braves? You have Garrett Cole in like the pinstripes. You turn around, you look behind you, you've got a bunch of Ranger whites behind you, all white shoes, like beautiful uniforms. That instantly brings me to a nostalgic place in my head when you say that, because I just remember those days of like, we'll go back to like Cal Ripken Jr. getting moved over to shortstop. Like, I remember the Oriole emblazed on the all white. I remember A-Rod coming over and tapping him and being like, hey, man, you have to go. Is it the same nostalgic feeling or warm feeling I have if they're in these disgusting
Yeah.
Probably not. RDT, though, you had like the hottest take about this. You were on this from the beginning. You were like, fuck this, burn it to the ground.
Well, but it's never going to change back because it's the money thing. That's the thing. They're going to sell these jerseys. And that's the whole big thing is they want to sell T-shirts and the hats and the jerseys. So I want the whites and the grays back more than anybody. But I'm already like, it's never going to happen because again, it's another money thing for baseball, which is fine. Sell the jerseys, do whatever. But I'm at least glad they did still do the Derby in the jerseys because if they would do again some weird stuff like that, then it's like no, just like you said, I want to see all the regular jerseys. So yeah, I'm a sucker for those throwbacks too. Yeah, if they want to flip flop, that would be great. I would love that. Do one or the other.
Yeah, do home run derby jerseys and sell those because who's buying a fucking Will Bednar or David Bednar? No disrespect to David there. I just threw out the Mississippi
you're right.
State.
Right.
Yeah, I know I did that. But that's actually a testament to like, why would someone buy a David Bednar? You're gonna buy the J-Rod anyways, so make it the home run derby jersey or something. Okay, broader things. Let's go back to the derby. So I think as baseball fans, we should be really proud. I wanna double down on this of how well we showcase players during like that mid-season all-star competition. Everybody else is just copying what baseball started and did, and no one will ever come close because baseball is the one sport where it can lend itself to like, good luck taking a play off, good luck taking that pitch off, good luck being a pitcher and going out there and be like, I don't want to make the best pitch I can. Like when you're in that moment, it don't matter what position you're playing. Like you want to make a play. You want to drive it. I got that set so strong. I love the way they package it up. I hope this is for a while. I don't want to be in the West Coast again. I hope we can get a break from that. But I thought the pageantry was exceptional. I thought the social media access this year was different. It's the first time I was like, ooh, we're doing different stuff. You know, there was some man on the street stuff that came out. A lot of player interviews. I just felt like, generally speaking, this weekend was more accessible, which I think is important for the sport going forward. But just generally speaking, like, I want to go back to the home run derby. The home run derby, regardless of what format you want, I mean, electric home run derby. Electric.
Yes.
The social media buzz was gigantic. We had a number of great matchups, but let's just start here. The home run derby fucking smashes. Slam dunk contest, skills competition, NHL, whatever the Pro Bowl's trying to run out there. Like the home run derby is the creme de la creme to me of skills competitions in professional sports. And I just absolutely fucking love this year's. Loved it top to bottom.
You know what I really like about it? And this is going to sound strange, but this is not the case in other sports. They get good players in it. Like, I know that sounds... that is the thing. I mean, I wrote about this last night in my blog. Like, the NBA dunk contest used to be cool. Now they have guys that are, like, going to be bagging groceries in, like, 3 months in the fucking dunk contest. It defeats the purpose when it's all-star weekend and star players aren't participating in these events. Like, Adley Rutschman is a star. Luis Robert is a star. J-Rod's struggling a little bit this year, but J-Rod's a hometown kid and a star. He won one Rookie of the Year last year. I think it adds so much more weight that, like, you know, let's say one day Vladdy Jr. is in Cooperstown, and we'll look back and be like, man, you remember the way he tore it up in the Derby? I think it just adds to the pageantry of the entire thing when you can look at these guys and be like, these guys are here enhancing their legacies as players. It makes the event so much cooler. And yeah, there's the way that these players throw in these little wrinkles, you know, Adley switching from hitting from the right side, you know, bonus time. All that stuff is so cool to me. That's so baseball at its purest.
I was just say, don't jump the gun on the switch on the right side because
I kept it tight for make sure.
That is RDT. I'm going to tell you, man, as an Orioles fan, him switching to the right side is it tier 1 memorable moment. Up there with Brett Boone going over. Up there with Mark McGwire's 13 home runs at Fenway and Sammy Sosa ripping the cover off Milwaukee. I guess I'm interested. I saw you were doing the selfie videos from the bar. You didn't see Luis Robert crushing your dreams, did you?
Oh, I saw it immediately. The second it happened, I literally was like, I looked at my buddy and I go, we're in trouble. And he was like, he's hit 7 home runs. And I go, he's like 2.5 minutes left plus bonus time. And we kind of just looked around and we went, yeah, this is going to be an issue. But like we were all talking and it was like, I was worried that he would go out there and hit 9 and he'd be eliminated in, by 8:15. We'd be like, well, that was fun, blah, blah, blah. But again, he put on a show. The switch to the right side was incredible. The story with his dad throwing to him. I don't know if you guys heard. So they talked, his dad, the Orioles flew him to New York when the Orioles were there last week. He was throwing in BP at Yankee Stadium. Then during the game was like, I'm not loose enough. He went to Central Park, Adley's dad, and was throwing long toss with Adley's mom to get his arm loose. Then the Orioles flew him to Minnesota where they were this weekend, and he's throwing in BP in the cages there. So like his dad was like, listen, like I got to give my all for this. We saw Dave Joust become like an overnight superstar with Pete Alonso a couple years ago. Adley's dad was like, listen, I mean, remember like Robinson Cano's dad hit him with a pitch in Arizona, and I think Bryce Harper's dad had some funny moments too. But it's like his dad was like, listen, if we lose, it ain't gonna be because of me. So I love that. I loved it all, and again, just the whole like. They asked Adley after, like, what do you think of it? And he's like, listen, I just got to do a home run derby with my dad at the ballpark that I grew up going to. Like, that is literally what it is all about. Like, not to get, the Rico, some things are bigger than sports. That's bigger than sports. It's awesome. But, yeah, Chris, I mean, I was going to say, what you were saying, we talked about it, too, with me and my buddies. NBA, they had Mac McGlung or whatever his name was in the dunk contest last year. That's like getting a guy in Double-A. No offense to Mac. I know he listens to the show and everything. But, like,
MLB is culturally significant in dunk contest.
Yeah, but
he's like,
it's not him. It's not him I'm blaming for this, but I get RDT's point. Like, I know you're really excited for Jackson Holliday, RDT. Would you have been cool with him being in the Major League Home Run Derby? I think that would.
Yeah, like
But what if there was a player in the minor leagues that was notorious for hitting bombs and being 5'5"? That's where
maybe.
Now we're gonna get into a Mac McClung podcast. I would love to have him on the show and talk to him about his experiences watching Home Run Derby. I get what you're saying. I think because I'm the one shitting on the NBA in this comparison.
Yeah.
I'm just like attuned to play devil's advocate. You're right. Mac McClung, relative to the quality of play at the NBA level, like he does not represent that in the least bit. And it's crazy. Like Randy Rosarena hit 3rd for the American League All-Star team and participated in the Home Run Derby. And people are like, Randy who?
Yeah.
Now, not us at all, but people that tune into the sport. Now, how many people would like consume an NFL or an NBA All-Star game and be like, oh, that's the starting quarterback? Oh, that's the starting wide receiver? Oh, again, as baseball fans, like, we know Randy Rosarena inside and out, but like national sports fans, it is crazy to think that there are people that are like still getting introduced to this guy, which is just my long-winded way of taking away from the Mac McClung point. So I want to go back to did you know Adley's sister was this hot?
I was shocked that people didn't know.
Voice, slow down.
We were at Pickles with like her and her parents a couple weeks ago. Yeah, like it's like a known thing. We see her on the ballpark. Like I kind of assumed that was a known thing. Like I saw the blogs today and New York Post or whatever, and I was like, we already knew this. Again, I thought we knew it. I thought everybody knew it. I guess not. Now we know. Now everybody knows. But yeah, Josie's a great girl. She's a super smart girl, super nice. She's an awesome person. The family's the best. Yeah. Again, his family's perfect. Like we look at him, like, are we shocked that again, his dad's throwing BP in the Derby, his mom's a teacher. Like, why wouldn't they just have the perfect family? So
yeah, he's Captain America. Like literally, like literally. If the Baltimore Orioles are the Avengers, he is Captain America. Like, I mean, the story, College World Series MVP, #1 pick, franchise catcher. It's one last thing about the Derby that makes it really cool at the current format is you can lose the competition and still win the moment. Adley had his moment. Like that no one's gonna give a shit he got bounced in the first round. Like go in the future.
2 things. I don't know if you can see the bobblehead. They literally gave away an Adley Captain America bobblehead like 2 weeks ago. So I had this right here, and then I compared, and this may be a little long shot, but I said Adley, his performance is like the Josh Hamilton Derby, where everyone was like, that Josh Hamilton Derby. And you go, yeah. And then you're like, wait, Justin Morneau won that. It's like, yeah, but Josh Hamilton was awesome. So again, it's like, I said, people will remember, I think, Adley's performance, at least around here, and maybe nationally, I don't know. But people will remember that performance over Vladdy winning, with however many he won. That's what I think. But again, that may be a little biased for me.
No, I don't think it's biased. I think the switch from lefty to righty is a tier 1 home run derby thing. I don't even know if Hamilton losing to Morneau is. I don't. It is. Oh, wait, that's a tier 1 home run derby moment. But the fact that Griffey showing up with the backwards hat is what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I'm going to think about Adley being like, nah, I'm going to go righty. And he smashed 7 to 8 or 8 to 9 swings or whatever it was.
7.
That's what makes it cool to me is that he didn't just switch. He switched, just started mashing right away. Right. That's generational shit, man.
Now, we've talked about Adley before a lot, RDT, while you were around here. We want him to take the bat off his shoulders so fucking bad. I respect the fact that he leads the league in walks and he's got a patient eye and all this stuff. It's like, dude, you can launch balls to Russia to do that. Try to do that more often. So, I guess coming out of that, were you surprised with the amount of power that he displayed at all? Or as an Orioles fan, because I ran through this with Chris Bryant as a Cubs fan, because he'd be like, man, he's a great hitter. He's patient. He'll dump it into right center. And you appreciated that early where you're like, oh, good, he dumps it in the right center. And then after a while, you're like, stop it and start nicking for those pitches you take to left center. If you hit any even remote frustration points with Adley.
No, not really. Again, his first full season, but he, he kind of went through a home run drought leading up till Sunday, and then he parked going 461 halfway up the upper deck in Minnesota, and we went, oh yeah, he's ready. He's ready for the Derby. There's the Derby swing. You see him. He's massive. He's strong. He's thick. He's cut. He's everything. So we know he has the power. Again, it's he's just such a good hitter where it's sometimes, it's oh, he can pull that. And it's and maybe he will just kind of dump it into left field, or he'll run it down the line for a double or something like that. But every now and then, again, he has one on Utah Street this year. He got robbed of one that hit a pillar out there. He's shown the legit power. And you talked about it earlier. He's not a slugger like Vladdy. He's not thought about as a Luis Robert home run who's hitting 480. Someone said the other night, it looks like Luis Robert had a lacrosse stick in his hand and was just flicking his wrists with it. And I was like, that's a perfect comparison. I've never thought about that. But he doesn't come across it. Because again, you don't think of catchers like that. They just don't happen. But he has legit power. And again, I think he hits them. It was kind of hard to follow them yesterday. But he hit some long ones that they were up there and they were going far. So he has the power. It didn't surprise me. I thought, I didn't think he would hit that many, but I thought low 20s. That's what I said going into it. But yeah, I'm not too shocked by the power display.
Yeah, it's a hard line to cross with your youngster because you've got so much love and passion because of where you want him to go. But there's going to be a moment where you're like, take that fucking bat off your shoulder. It's coming. Hopefully not in the second half. I want to stay patient. I want to stay good on this All-Star break. Was there anything Castellani Tigers related? I saw Michael Lorenzen got some of your ire earlier, or maybe it was oh yeah, Michael Lorenzen should be an All-Star. There we go. I just want to say one thing in his defense before it gets to you. Michael Lorenzen is so respected by guys across baseball because of his prep in college background and the fact that he is just as good of an outfielder and a hitter as he was as a pitcher, and that he had a hard time trying to pick a path. And he's surely as college baseball is concerned with his peers, when he got into professional baseball. He's like the biggest fucking gangster of all time. Like whatever you wanted this guy to do, hit leadoff, hit third or whatever. And so there is, to me, a sense Michael Lorenzen, as he gets an all-star nod in his mid-30s or whatever, it's more of like a career testament that, like, dude, you're still here, you're still going. That said, though, is he an all-star?
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the toughest part of this. I like Michael Lorenzen. In fact, I mean, in the Al Avila era, we signed a lot of veteran pitchers to one-year deals, and almost all of them stunk or got injured. And Lorenzen has come in here in year one with Scott Harris, and he's pitched some darn good baseball. You know, his ERA is a little bit inflated because he's had a few really, really rough outings. He had a start in Colorado where he just got bapped up to death. But for the most part, of his 14 starts, I believe, in 9 of them, he's given up 2 runs or fewer. Like, he's an effective pitcher. He throws strikes, great athlete. Like, he's one of those guys who you feel like the pitch clock has had no impact on him because he's in tremendous shape. So I like him quite a bit. There's a chance, potentially, at the deadline, you get shipped to a contender. Who knows? Maybe we get a prospect or 2 back for him at some point. So I like the guy. My only issue is I felt like the organization kind of called attention to themselves by picking him. Because immediately the articles and the videos came out, Michael Lorenzen. They went with Lorenzen. And to me, I get frustrated because I feel like there was a very obvious choice that they could have gone with. Our highest leverage reliever this year, our best pitcher this year, has been Jason Foley, our 8th inning guy. And I understand, hey, the guy is 1 inning at a time. I get it. But hear me out. How many opportunities is Jason Foley going to have at the All-Star game? You know what I mean? That's the thing, is I think I would have just gone with the reliever who's been a stud for you, who legitimately, and I'm not going to do a full deep dive, legitimately could have had an honest-to-God argument for making it without the whole every team needs a representative thing. I mean, if you take away one outing, his ERA on the season is 1.23. His whip is well under 1, turbo sinker. That would have been my pick. But, honestly, like, the fact that we got a guy in there, he pitched well, I'm happy for him. He's had a good year. It's just, I would have gone with somebody else. But, hey, he's a Tiger, and he pitched a scoreless frame in the All-Star game. Good for him. It's hard to complain. He's very well respected, like you said.
Only you would just, like, make a case for Jason Foley on the post-All-Star game podcast. Like, you're right. If we had to trade out one obscure Tiger for another obscure Tiger, and just the depth of the analysis in which that goes into it. But you're right. But for one bad experience, Foley would be, qualified for one of the lowest ERAs in American League relievers. Bautista is qualified for one of the lowest ERAs in MLB relievers. Cano, would you have rather seen Cano or Bautista blow it? This is a very specific Orioles question, but who is more adept to bounce back in the second half from woes, Cano or Bautista?
I would say Bautista, and it's weird because Cano has been the one that's been shaky lately, and Bautista has been legitimately lights out since he hung that pitch to Judge in New York for the walk-off, whenever that was, maybe 6 weeks ago. Because there was talk around like Orioles Twitter, like maybe Bautista shouldn't be the closer, maybe it should be Cano, and it's like, and then again a switch flipped, and it's like, what are we doing, guys? This guy throws a 103, and he's striking out 18 per 9 innings. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? And I think that legitimately pissed off Bautista, because again, he's been lights out since then. And here's a stat: gave up 1 home run in April, 1 home run in May, 1 home run in June, just crossed off his 1 home run for July. So again, it's like his numbers since that blown save in New York have been incredible. So like I got zero issue. And again, it's like, if he's going to blow a game, have it be one that doesn't matter. And again, it's like, you know what? It was a great experience for him. I'm sure it was nervous. Not that, again, he's a pro athlete. It's not an excuse. But again, he's had hiccups before, and he's bounced back, and he's become even better than he was pre-hiccup. So it's like, I don't know if there's another level. And if there is, it's terrifying. Because again, now you're like, ESPN, I don't know what their Cy Young, award ranking thing is, but it has him second. And again, it's like, listen, we've seen our fair share of great closers in Baltimore. If Britton didn't win it in 16, I don't know if we're ever going to see another reliever do it. But if there's a guy, it damn well may be better. It may be Bautista this year. So yeah, he's going to bounce back, and I have no question about it.
Who's the last reliever to win a Cy Young? Is it Gagne?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I legitimately, and I'm the biggest Verlander guy in the world, I think Britton legitimately could have and should have won it in 16. But, it's what
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Buck Showalter would have told you anybody could have won it then.
But he was proud of them no matter what. But no, we're not talking about it.
Don't do that to the Mets. Don't do that to the Mets. Don't do that to the Mets. Or Buck Showalter. Did you guys know, by the way, Buck Showalter hit like 460 in his career at Mississippi State, the SEC?
Mississippi State.
Did he really?
And he's like considered one of the best hitters of his like he got to the big leagues. He's it's Buck Showalter. You look at him, you're like, well, how good could you be at baseball? He was as fucking good. He was so much better. I'm sorry. I like pointing this out with managers where you're like, did you know? Like, yeah, dude, Dusty Baker was legit. Dusty Baker was so good. I do want to call it Dusty Baker too because I just enjoyed watching him. I thought he had a great time with All-Star Game festivities. I also thought MLB Network blew the fucking doors off ESPN in their coverage.
I agree.
When I was flipping between ESPN and MLB Network in their pregame stuff for the Home Run Derby and for the game, like you'd be on ESPN and they're like, here's Xander Scruggs. He has 6 career plate appearances. You flip over to MLB Network. It's like you flip over to MLB Network and they're just Dempster's telling stories about the time Maddox pissed on him and Smoltz is coming over here and they got like Ken Griffey Jr. just casually rolled by. So I've gotten, I think from this weekend and this year in particular, I've developed a bigger appreciation for MLB Network because I do think they do a good job. I think they do a very good job. I enjoy their programming quite a bit. And I thought they hit a home run this weekend compared to ESPN, what ESPN did with the rights and what Fox did today.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool Fox has Jeter on the payroll, but, like, fuck off. So
He's got a long way to go as an analyst. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm being nice.
Yeah, you're being super nice. We're all being nice about the captain. He shouldn't be doing that shit, dude. He just shouldn't be on camera.
I'm surprised he wanted to be honest. I mean, I'm sure they gave him a fucking dump truck full of gold, but it seemed like when he retired, that he was very much ready to separate himself from the game. And he did for a few years, and then he fucking bought part of the Marlins. It's like, okay, I guess he's back. I don't know. I think, I was surprised he took that on the way he did.
Is Derek Jeter in debt? Why would he be on the broadcast?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think you guys follow Jim Palmer. He had a tweet tonight that was, again, it kind of sums up the whole. I thought Ortiz, A-Rod, and Jeter going down there was funny for like a little bit, and then it's like, all right, we get it. Jim Palmer goes, Mike Fox, tell us who Perdomo plays for, just walk. And do I have to listen to David Ortiz anymore? Yeah, I thought that was just incredible. I thought that was very funny. That was kind of my only gripe with like, let the game kind of go.
It's not your only kind of gripe. It's a real gripe when you have superstars and people talking about the game that think they're bigger than the players that are playing it. And that's the problem that they've put themselves into. And that was like a little bit of a criticism. Actually, I shouldn't say a little bit, a huge criticism with Joe Morgan, who's like the best player to ever do fucking analyst stuff on a consistent basis. No, I mean, I'm not trying, like if A-Rod was he is in the booth. So now I guess, I'm in a predicament here where I'm comparing A-Rod to Morgan. But
he's not in the booth with Fox, though. He has been with ESPN, but...
Sure. My broader point is that like the people that are calling the game are all tapped into the Joe Morgan syndrome of when I played and this is bigger and better, but in their own heads. Like it's hard, like to Ortiz, Perdomo's just a kid.
Yeah.
To Rodriguez, it's like, oh, well, once he gets his feet wet, it's like this fucking 22, 23-year-old shortstop in the All-Star game, like right now. And they don't have that capacity to extend the respect to the fan is kind of my take. It's very, very indebted to who they are and their experience. Where I'd throw John Smoltz out there as a complete opposite, where he's very good at looking at a player and putting himself in the shoes of their struggles, communicating struggles. Where John Smoltz would be like, yeah, I guess I struck out Tony Gwynn 3 of the times, the 6 times, me, Maddox, and Clement. Like, he's not very hung up on maybe he is. More on the accolades of the golf course, but Yeah, this is just kind of my broader thing about the coverage and stuff. So I would like to see. It would be cool if if Jeter's gonna do it fucking full send, buddy. Don't just show up on All-Star Weekend and give me half-ass fucking commentary. I'd love to see in Cincinnati. I'd love to see in fucking Cincinnati for a day game and a Saturday in mid-August. It'd be awesome.
I will say, I thought the mic'd up stuff was awesome. I will listen and watch I will watch a JV field hockey team if they're mic'd up and have like a Hard Knocks kind of segment. I love it. I want to hear like them like with Josh Hader, and he's like, come and set, and they're like, hey, how you doing, Josh? He's like, yep, good. Just fucking winging it in there. I love that. I thought it was great. And again, doing it in an All-Star game. I think when they try and do it in the playoffs, or they do it, in these regular season games, or it's like, probably don't want to have your first baseman mic'd up and he's trying to pick one out of the dirt, in bottom 9 or something like that. But again, the All-Star, I think the All-Star game has done a great job with that. Like having Mookie and Freddie mic'd up back and forth, being like, hey, Ohtani, and he's like, can't say anything, it's tampering, but we would love to have him, so would 30 other teams. Like, that stuff was good. So I'll give Fox the credit there, and they've done, again, they did the George Springer stuff a couple years ago with the stuttering and stuff like that, so that was a really cool moment. But I thought they knocked that out of the park for a couple years. So I'll boo them on one thing, but I'll hat tip them on another.
Yeah, no, I think they've really nailed that. I think Joe Davis is really good with the questions during it.
That's Carl's guy. Carl's been on him for a while.
Well, he's a Michigan boy too. He's from Potterville, so I'm a huge Joe Davis stan. So I think he does a really good job of, because those things can get very awkward. I feel like with the mic'd up stuff, because you're focusing on the game. You're trying to filter what you say to a certain extent. I like the back and forth. Some players are just more naturally better than others. Like Freddie Freeman's perfect for that stuff. Mookie was perfect for that stuff. So yeah, no, I think the All-Star game especially, perfect opportunity for that stuff, because it's not as high pressure as a regular season game as a playoff game. I've always liked that they've done that. Yeah.
I'm going to out myself a little bit as a hippie here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to notice I'm wearing a Grateful or a Dead and Company shirt. I very much like Dead and Co. I like Grateful Dead. This makes sense of what I'm going to say with Joe Davis. I like this new band, that newer young band called Goose, and they very much follow the Fish and the Grateful Dead kind of element of that jam band, bring people together, 2 drummers, let's go fucking crazy. Fish only has one. But my broader point is, Joe Davis is like our young generation guy. Like, I didn't grow up listening to Jerry Garcia play, so I had a chance. Obviously, we listened to Vin Scully call a ton of games, but like, I didn't get a chance to really you don't like latch on to an announcer. Like, Joe Davis is our age, is out playing the songs. He's out calling the games. He's in the World Series. He's doing the All-Star games, all that stuff. He does a remarkable fucking job. And so the connection I feel to Joe Davis is like, yeah, he's young. He's raw. He did a great job tonight, man. He gets better every time I listen to him on a national broadcast. I walk away more and more like, dude, that guy's so fucking good. And so it's like to compare it is like, I feel like we're seeing a guy come up, and we know for like 40 years he's just going to get better and better and more seasoned, and the more you get to consume him, the more you're going to enjoy him. I feel such a good connection with Joe Davis talking about baseball.
Yeah.
I wish I could. The way I feel about Joe Davis with baseball is how I feel about like fucking Ernie Davis in studio, like just handling shit. It's just like, good, that's our guy. Like, and I don't even know if there's somebody for football I could compare it to, but thank you for bringing up Joe Davis, Chris, because I thought he was magnificent tonight. I thought he's been magnificent in all the opportunities that he's got. Some of that has to do with Joe Buck contract stuff. So it's more than just you're good and you're the guy. They wanted to make him the guy, and he's done a remarkable job.
And he's got what he is. He's got a big game voice. I like Musburger. Like Musburger, like that with football throughout a lot of his career, where it's like you hear that voice. This isn't some fucking 12 o'clock ACC fucking football game. No, we're watching the World Series. We're watching the All-Star game. We're watching Dodger baseball. Like that's his vibe to me. So I think like he's established himself quickly as one of the best.
I'm fucking tired. He's got one of those big game voices.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a ridiculous thing to say if I had to read that on paper.
But it's true.
No, it's 100% true.
No, the real ones, no. Yeah.
Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the All-Star game, post-game show. We watched the Derby, watched the All-Star game. Group chat was firing. We're kind of getting to the end of the show here because I want to get this up as soon as possible. So I'm interested if there's any closing thoughts. We can leave this as like, and I'll start with you, Chris. Consider it as like if you had a message for Rob Manfred or baseball fans or owners, either as we come out of a first half and in the second half.
2 words. I got 2 words. It's working. The system and stuff that you have put in place. I'm not saying the sport will ever be flawless, perfect in every single way. Nothing can be. But you are on track right now with the rule changes, with the young players you have, with the veteran players you have, with the all-star festivities. This game is becoming more accessible to younger fans. It's becoming more user-friendly in so many ways. And I think the all-star game and the all-star festivities as a whole are a prime example of that. Continue with this momentum, and good things are going to happen to the sport in the near future.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was going to say just the game is in good hands. I think it's in great hands. And again, Chris, you talked about it where you have the young guys. You have, we talked about Randy Arozarena, Adolis Garcia, like, a lot of these young guys, Adley, Julio, a lot of these young guys who people are now kind of being like, oh, okay, this is the next crop of superstars, Plus, you want to talk about like international talent. Again, Adolis, Randy, some guy named Shohei Ohtani. Like, they're littered with stars absolutely everywhere. And it's like we've seen it in football the past couple of years where it's like, we saw Brady, we saw Big Ben, we saw Manning, we saw Breeze, and, Rodgers. All these guys are getting older and they're getting out. And again, we're seeing that with Pujols and Miggy and, a lot of these guys that are retiring. And now the younger class is coming up and, it's like, again, young guys, American-born guys, international-born guys. Like, there's just so much talent spread out everywhere. And again, like, you look at just the rosters tonight, and you're like, holy shit! Like, these guys are going to be around for a very long time. Like, again, we had the class of Mookie and stuff like that, and it's like, yep. Oh, and then there's a guy named Luis Robert, and then there's a guy named Vladdy who's still here. And again, there's names, there's just so much talent all around. It's a very exciting time to be a baseball fan. And Chris, like you said, coupled with the rules, like there were fans who were coming back to baseball who have been like, no, the game's too long for me. I can't go. I'm not going to watch a 4-hour game. Now they're like 210, 220. Yeah, sign me up. I can get back into that. So I'm kind of riding your coattails a little bit. Like the game is in a good spot and it is working. So it's a perfect kind of, again, Manfred, we don't give him any hat tips, but I think you got to at least kind of bow to him just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit for the stuff that they've done, recently.
Yeah, no, I'll give them all the credit for this. I love the rule changes. I really do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially the other commissioners, man. Like Gary Bettman gets shit on. Like Goodell's a laughing stock, and people think like Nate Silver's or Adam Silver's like out drinking unicorn blood.
Yes.
Like Manfred is like from Brooklyn and grew up a diehard Mets fan and is as blue collar of a person as it gets. So it's a little frustrating when people can accuse him of this like mastermind. He's just like a guy who likes watching baseball and wants to argue with people and was good at it, which is why he got hired to do labor negotiations, which is a different point. So thank you for bringing up the Manfred stuff because he does get shit on unnecessarily. Like the rule changes are amazing stuff. And RDT, if I was going second, I would have brought up the same thing. Baseball is in a good spot, as Chris explains. I would put it all on these young players. I mean, just the young players at baseball are amazing. It seems like every team has like an emerging top 10 prospect who can just like completely change them. So that's super positive. I suppose the thing I would leave with is that, like Shohei Ohtani has the capacity to be bigger than the sport.
Yes.
Like where Shohei Ohtani goes and what that team does with him, it's going to be so... That's what I took away from this weekend. Like watching him in Seattle and seeing the fans react to him. It had to be nice if he was in Seattle. And then you start that discussion. You're like, dude, it'd be so cool if he's in New York. Could you imagine if Houston paid for him? Dude, what if Baltimore finally spent money they'd saved all these years? And then you start going on. Obviously, as a Cubs fan, it's like, yeah, dude, he wants to play those day games. He's Japanese teammates with Seiya Suzuki. And almost every team in baseball has this like compelling reason to be like, man, we should get Shohei. And I guess I would throw that back to Chris and say that's a secondary reason why I think the sport's as good as it can be right now.
Yeah.
You have the best player in the history of the sport, the most talented player in the history of the sport. And one of the biggest storylines we'll get our hands on is where does he end up, which is like NBA territory. Now we're starting to get into that media sexy Shohei thing, and he can carry baseball into a spot where people give a fuck about it when it's cold and when they're not playing games. And that's a really special thing. And seeing the way Seattle responded to Shohei this weekend, and then you start teasing it, you're like, man, could you imagine him? He's going to look great in a Dodgers. He's going to look great in a Dodgers uniform. He'd look great in every uniform except for like in Milwaukee Brewers uniform.
Yeah. Photoshop season coming up. That's what it is. It's like when LeBron was a free agent. That's what it is. It's a legitimate. He's going to change the landscape of baseball.
Yeah.
And like internationally also, like just internationally change everything.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance it's bigger than when LeBron declared free agency because of how much better he is than everybody else and how much weight he carries internationally? Or am I overstepping my bounds right now? Am I being a fucking idiot?
I know. I would say it's at least equal. I mean, we are talking about two guys who are, far and away the best at their respective sports. I don't think Shohei will make it into the circus that LeBron made it into when he left Cleveland the first time. But no, I think and I like LeBron, but I think as an international star, Ohtani's, I might get shit on for this, is, I would say he's at least equal to what LeBron was. I'm like,
go look at like, go look at like Instagram followings and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Go look at like impressions.
Could you imagine if Shohei announced where he was going at a YMCA in like Bristol, Connecticut? Isn't that where LeBron did it? Then he did it from.
It was a boys and girls club.
The boys and girls club. Yeah.
I want him to do it at one of those like alley bars in Tokyo where there's just like 6 stools and they just bring you in, they black you out for an hour, they send you out in the alley, and they just like one of those weird like Anthony Bourdain travel bars, and it's just like him chilling with a bunch of like, expats. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for fucking Shohei, by the way, because he has the passion and the joy.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe more than like any pro athlete that dominates I can think of. Like, if you let Shohei play short, he would play short. Yeah. If you were like, do you want to play shortstop today? He would say, yeah, I could play it as well as anybody in the world. Mm-hmm. He would fucking mean it. He would mean it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, guys, this is the AL, or I would say the AL National League. This is the It's normally the National League show. It's the MLB All-Star Game post-game show. Joined by Chris Castellani and RDT. Guys, if you watch this on YouTube, please subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere else where you can find a podcast. Hopefully the sound quality came through. I'm on headphones today. We are moving. Next time you hear from me, I will be in the middle of the fucking woods. So, RDT, I appreciate you so much for jumping on and doing this post-game show. You've done an amazing job this year at the blog coverage, on social media and stuff. I think it's important people hear from you and get a sense of what's going on with the Orioles. We'll have you on more as the season progresses with the Orioles winding down the second half, and hopefully you're comfortable with where we rank them 3rd overall in the power ranking spot.
I see it every week, like 3, sometimes 4, like 5 when they're bad, and I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. So we're not going to get any like Reds fans or the Marlins fans coming at you guys like I've seen in the mentions.
That's exclusive to Chris Clemmer appearances, I feel like.
Oh, I'm shocked that Clemmer is like a lightning rod for controversy. No way. That doesn't sound like him. You got the wrong guy.
He's just begging for it from Reds fans. And I'm like kind of nervous because he's like a fucking witch doctor. He's at home with like a Nickelodeon voodoo doll, just like
just stabbing the elbow. Yeah.
Hey, exactly. Lighten up, Plumber. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. Obviously, subscribe to our stuff. We'll be back on Friday with a second half preview, an eclectic group of guests. Until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you then.